I need you to understand something before this starts. If you hear your name in this recording, do not answer it. I made that mistake once. And by the end of tonight, I am no longer sure if I was the first person to make it. When my mother died, she left me the house I grew up in. It was an old 2-story place at the end of Harper Lane, with pale siding, a crooked porch, and a basement door that always seemed colder than the rest of the house. I moved back in because I told myself it was practical. Rent was getting expensive, my job was remote, and the house was already mine. But the truth is, I moved back because part of me missed being a child there. I missed the smell of dust in the hallway. I missed the way the kitchen windows turned gold at sunset. I missed the scratches on the doorframe where my mother measured my height every birthday. I didn't miss the basement. Nobody in my family liked the basement. My Uncle Aaron used to go down there a lot when I was young. He was my mother's younger brother, the kind of man adults described as quiet when they didn't know what else to say. He never yelled, never laughed too loud. He just watched people with patient eyes, like he was waiting for them to remember something. He died when I was 12. That is what I remember. That is what everyone remembers. My dog, Milo, remembered something else. For the first 2 weeks after I moved in, everything was normal. Milo slept beside my bed, barked at delivery drivers, and scratched at the back door when he wanted out. Then one night, I found him sitting in the kitchen perfectly still, staring at the basement door. At first, I thought he heard mice. I called his name. He didn't move. I snapped my fingers. Nothing. His ears were forward, his body tense, and his eyes were locked on that door like something on the other side was breathing through it. The basement door was closed. It had always been closed. I walked over and put my hand on the knob. Milo began to whine. Not bark, not growl, whine, like he was begging me not to open it. So I didn't. I went to bed and told myself, old houses make noises, dogs hear things we don't, and grief makes ordinary things feel haunted. The next morning, Milo was sleeping in front of the basement door. His paws were pressed against the gap at the bottom, and there was dirt under his nails. I checked the backyard. No holes, no mud, no reason for it. That was the first thing I couldn't explain. The second happened 3 days later. I found a photo on the fridge that I didn't remember putting there. It was an old family picture from a summer barbecue. My mother was smiling. I was standing near the porch with a juice box in my hand. Uncle Aaron was in the background, half turned away from the camera. But the basement door was open behind him. And in the darkness below, someone was standing on the stairs. I stared at the picture for a long time. The figure was small, child-sized, wearing the same blue shirt I was wearing in the photo. I called my aunt and asked her if she remembered that barbecue. She said yes. I asked if anyone went into the basement that day. She went quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, "Your house never had a basement." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I told her I was standing 10 feet away from the basement door. She said, "Honey, your mother sealed that crawl space before you were born." I hung up. Then I opened the basement door. There were stairs. Wooden, narrow, dusty, going down into blackness. Milo stood behind me, trembling. Then, from somewhere below, I heard my name. Not loud, not dramatic, just calm. Daniel, my Uncle Aaron's voice. I knew it instantly. Not because it sounded similar, not because grief filled in the gaps. It was him. The same soft voice, the same tired breath between words. "Daniel, you came back late." I slammed the door so hard the frame cracked. Milo barked once, then ran upstairs and hid under my bed. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I had convinced myself it was a memory. Some old sound caught in the pipes, some half-dream, some stress reaction from being back in that house. Then I checked my phone. There was a voicemail from my Uncle Aaron. The timestamp was 3:17 a.m. The message was only 6 seconds long. For the first 4 seconds, there was static. Then his voice whispered, Don't bring the dog down here. I drove to my aunt's house that same morning. I showed her the voicemail. She listened once, then handed the phone back without expression. There's no audio, she said. I played it again. The message was silent. I checked the waveform. Flat. 6 seconds of nothing. I showed her the family photo. She stared at it and frowned. That's not Aaron, she said. I looked. The man in the background was gone. There was only the porch, my mother, me, empty sunlight. I drove home shaking. But when I turned onto Harper Lane, my house wasn't there. The road ended in an empty lot. No driveway, no porch, no crooked siding. Just yellow grass and a rusted mailbox with my mother's last name on it. I sat in the car until sunset, watching a house that wasn't there. Then I blinked, and there it was again. Lights off. Basement door visible through the kitchen window. Milo, waiting inside, pressed against the glass. That night, the basement door opened by itself. Not all the way, just enough for the dark to show. Milo didn't bark anymore. He sat beside it like he had accepted something I hadn't. I heard footsteps below. Slow. 1 step at a time. Then my uncle's voice said, "You used to come down here every night." I whispered, "No, I didn't." The voice answered, "That's what we fixed." After that, things stopped staying where I left them. Rooms shifted. The hallway became longer at night. The kitchen windows showed the backyard in the morning and a forest by evening. My mother's height marks on the doorframe changed. My name appeared higher and lower, sometimes written in my mother's handwriting, sometimes in mine. One mark said, "Daniel, age 12, returned." I scratched it off with a knife. The next day, it was carved deeper. I started recording everything. Photos, videos, voice notes. But the recordings never matched what happened. In one video, I filmed the basement door opening on its own. When I played it back, I saw myself opening it, smiling, and walking down the stairs. In another recording, I whispered, "There is someone in the basement." On playback, my voice said, "There is no basement." Milo stopped eating. He stopped sleeping beside me. Every night, he sat at the basement door. Every night, the voice called me. Not always Uncle Aaron's voice. Sometimes my mother's. Sometimes my own. Then, on the 7th night, Milo finally went down. I woke up at 2:04 a.m. to the sound of his collar tags jingling. The basement door was open. The stairs were lit by a weak yellow bulb I had never installed. Milo stood halfway down, looking back at me. Behind him, at the bottom of the stairs, my uncle waited. He looked exactly as I remembered him. Not older, not dead, just calm. He held one finger to his lips. Then he pointed at the wall beside the stairs. There were names written there. Hundreds of them. Some scratched into wood, some written in marker, some carved so deep the letters split. I saw my mother's name, my uncle's, mine, and under my name, written again and again, "He always comes back." I ran. I grabbed my keys, got into my car, and drove away from Harper Lane. I drove until the sun came up, but every road brought me back. Every exit curved into the same street. Every gas station mirror showed the basement door behind me. By noon, the world outside the windshield had become empty. No other cars. No birds. No people. Just roads, fields, and signs pointing to places I didn't recognize. Then one sign appeared ahead. Harper Lane, 1 mile. I turned around. Another sign. Harper Lane, 1 mile. I stopped the car and screamed until my throat hurt. That was when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A woman was crying on the other end. She said, "Please, can you hear me? I live upstairs. Someone is walking around below me every night." I didn't speak. She continued, breathless. "The landlord says the downstairs unit is empty. But I hear them. Every night. Footsteps. Cabinets opening. Someone dragging furniture. Yesterday, I found a chair under the kitchen hatch. Today, there was food missing from my fridge. Her voice shook. I think someone has been living under me. Then, far behind her, I heard it. A basement door opening. And my uncle's voice said, very softly, Daniel? The call ended. I knew that voice. But I also knew that woman. I didn't know how. I had never met her. Still, I remembered standing outside her house in the rain. I remembered looking up at her window. I remembered waiting until her lights went out. The memory came into my head like something someone else had placed there. I remembered the empty floor below her apartment. I remembered the hidden door behind the laundry room. I remembered sleeping in the walls. No, that wasn't me. I pulled over and searched the address from the call history. There was no address. Only a contact name. Upstairs. I don't remember saving it. But there were hundreds of calls. All from the same number. All at 3:17 a.m. I played one of the old voicemails. It was my voice. Whispering. Don't come downstairs. I don't know how long I sat there. The road around me became quieter. The sky lost color. The trees became flat shapes. Like the world was simplifying itself because I had stopped believing I. Like the world was simplifying itself because I had stopped believing in it properly. Then my car radio turned on. Static filled the speakers. A song began playing. An old song. The one my mother used to play when I was small. I turned the radio off. It turned back on. I pulled the keys out. The music kept playing. Then a voice came from the back seat. Not my uncle. Not my mother. A small digital voice. Alexa, play The Basement. I turned around. There was an Alexa device sitting on the seat. I had never owned one. Its blue ring was glowing. I threw it out the window. It hit the road, rolled once, and stopped. The music stopped too. For about 5 seconds, there was perfect silence. Then the device spoke from the passenger seat. Playing. The Basement. I looked over. It was plugged into nothing. The blue ring pulsed slowly, like an eye opening and closing. From inside the speaker, I heard footsteps. Wooden stairs. Slow. Coming closer. Then a whisper. Alexa, remind Daniel he arrived late. I opened the car door and ran. The road was gone. Not blocked. Gone. The car sat in a dark room with no walls, no ceiling, and no horizon. Just a floor of old basement wood, stretching into blackness. Far ahead, I saw a door. My childhood basement door. Milo was sitting in front of it. Waiting. I walked toward him because there was nowhere else to go. With every step, sounds disappeared. First the wind. Then my breathing. Then my heartbeat. Only the Alexa kept speaking behind me, its voice calm and bright. Reminder, Daniel came downstairs. Reminder, Daniel forgot. Reminder, Daniel always forgets. When I reached the door, Milo looked up at me. His eyes were not afraid anymore. They were sorry. The door opened. At the bottom of the stairs, Uncle Aaron stood with my mother, the upstairs tenant, and a version of me I did not recognize. They were all watching. Not angry. Not hungry. Just patient. Like they had been waiting for the recording to catch up. On the wall behind them, a message appeared in fresh black letters. You arrived late. Then, underneath it, but you always do. I tried to turn back. The stairs behind me were gone. The car was gone. The road was gone. There was only the basement. Only the door. Only the voice saying my name from below. So, if this recording reaches you, please listen carefully. You may think you are alone right now. You may think the sound downstairs is the house settling. You may think the device turning on by itself is a glitch. You may even think the dog is staring at nothing. But when you hear your name, don't answer. And if part of you feels like you have heard this before, that means you have. That means you already came down once. And something was kind enough to let you forget.